Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, crazy babies, to another episode of Jam Sessions with your host, yours truly, Joe Mykut. I have a really great author on today. I hope you enjoy the interview, and be sure to stay tuned after the interview for a few great book recommendations. Without further ado, I'm going to scooch along off stage and bring on our next author. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, crazy babies, to another episode of Jam Sessions with yours truly, your host, Joe Mykut. I am here today with the author of They Said I Wasn't College Material, Mr. Scot Young. How are you today?
I'm great, Joe. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming on. We love getting to know about new authors and their books. We got a lot of viewers out there that love to read, and they're always looking for something good. So with that being said, let's dive right into it. Tell us about They Said I Wasn't College Material. What is this book about in your own words?
Well, most all the books are usually snapshots of just my life or things that I've seen, but this book really stems out of the title stems out of a conversation I had with a high school guidance counselor in probably 1972. And when I told him I wanted to go to Berkeley, and he looked at me kind of like that and said, I think have you ever considered a factory job? And I went, no. And he said, how about construction? I said, that's possible. He said, I really don't think you're cut out for Berkeley, which meant college. And I said, okay. So I graduated early and went to college.
Wow. Isn't that something somebody that's supposed to guide you through your educational journey to say something like that to you, but you showed them. I mean,
it sounds like a joke, but actually I've been in education 35 years, and teachers, principals, superintendents, they like to pigeonhole kids.
Yeah.
And so they put you in a box and they expect you to stay there. Well, that just ticked me off, and I was going to prove the guy wrong.
Well, you did. I mean, it sounds like you not only did you graduate earlier, you went to college, which makes you obviously college material, and then you've made a career out of the educational system. So
yeah, I went to college, but I didn't graduate till 1989 because I played around a lot, and and then we got married, and and life happened. So the poem stopped, and putting bread on the table kind of took over.
Sure.
And one day I woke up from being a construction worker, and I said, I'm not going to go back to school. And so I walked in the dean's office at Central Missouri State, told him I wanted to be a teacher, and he looked at my transcripts. And again, he had the same look as that high school counselor. And he goes, before you could even be provisionally admitted, you need 14 hours of A's. I said, not a problem. He said, young man, you don't have any A's and you got 105 hours. And I said, I never needed them.
Wow.
So, again, someone tells you no, you prove them wrong.
Absolutely. Well, and I can only imagine that you went on through your career in the educational system to provide a better opportunities and better advice to the kids that you came into contact with. So it sounds like you have a better attitude towards those things than the people that you came across. So I can only hope that they had at least a positive impact in that way. So now you answered the question where your title comes from, because I was curious about that. I had an idea that was it, but I was really hoping that an educator didn't have the nerve to say that to somebody. Now, as far as your writing style, who would you say inspires you, or what? Do you have any authors that you look to? Or?
They've changed throughout the years. In 1972, when I took a creative writing course, the teacher handed us a mimeograph poem titled "It's Raining in Love" by Richard Rodigan, and that started it all. And I love that guy. I fell in love with his work, bought all his books. Then when I went on to different school, a professor turned me on to Charles Bukowski. I'm not sure why. I kind of like Bukowski, but he wasn't one of, the people. And, and then from then I researched the beats, poets from the 50s and 60s, met some of them. But, everything I read probably has some influence. So it kind of migrates and morphs and grows, and it's organic. It doesn't stay, the same. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, those are two names that are new to me. I'm gonna have to actually check out It's Raining in Love. That sounds. I always like to go check something out that had such an inspirational moment in somebody else's life. I like to see. It's almost like when I read it, I can go back to that moment and maybe see how it inspired that person, like yourself, to for it to be so impactful, for you to be able to recollect it as the single moment, or at least one of the most pivotal moments that you became interested in poetry. So I'm definitely going to check that out. Now, are there any other projects that you have underway? Are there any other books coming out in addition to They Said I Wasn't College Material? What else can your readers and your fans look for?
Wherever you buy your books online, the very first one in 21 is called All Around Cowboy. That's a picture of my wife and myself when we were first married.
Oh, nice.
And that's snapshots of my life, of your life, of everybody's life, probably, from birth to death. I mean, from conception to death. There's poems on all those, from there. As a school superintendent, I also taught, because I taught the kids that were sexually abused, mentally abused, coming out of the closet at age 13, you name it, they were all in my class. And we did a haiku project. Well, they didn't like haikus at all. So we changed it up. Instead of 3 lines, we did American haiku, which I think I invented. I mean, not the term, of course. But anyway, each line, there was 1 word per line, and each stanza represented 1 line of the haiku. So instead of being little bitty poems, they were pretty good sized poems, long. So,
oh, wow.
That book there, American Haiku, shows one of my goats. Her name was Agnes, and she's sticking out her tongue, which is kind of a metaphor at the whole haiku process.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
And so then this one here was, They Said I Wasn't College Material, and I put your name on the t-shirt, Joe.
That's right.
And that's a picture of me on the senior trip, and I'm eating Rice Krispies, and I had a can of Budweiser, I think, but I wasn't drinking the can. The can was just there. But anyhow,
that's pretty cool. I was going to ask if that was you or who that was in that photo.
Yeah, that was me at 18
in college.
Just graduated from high school. Well, yeah, you're right. I had one semester down, I guess.
That's awesome. I love the irony there. Now I love when this happens. We have a treat for the viewers today. You're actually going to read 2 or 3 of your poems from the book, They Said I Wasn't College Material. So I'm excited to give you the stage here and let you do that. I can't wait to hear what kind of poetry you have in this collection. So without further ado, entertain us.
Let's start with a poem, and this was about one of my students, and this girl's mother called me the night before and said the child was going to read this the next day, and I said okay, and she goes, it's pretty explicit. So this poem is about that, and it's titled, Sometimes a Good Title Really Doesn't Matter. She read her poems without emotion about her father, said he always called her daddy's little girl, that she was taught before she became a woman, the only way to her daddy's heart was through his pants. She said her mother knew, but looked the other way or ran errands. And when she told the priest she wanted to be a boy, he had her recite some mumbo jumbo. I sat motionless, trying to find the right words. But those 15-year-olds taught class that day, surrounded her with a group hug. And when she bowed her head and cried, nobody heard the bell.
Wow. That is very powerful, and that is unfortunately an all too realistic story for a lot of people. That touches on some hard to swallow topics, but a lot of times those are the topics that we need to face as a society. And honestly, there's no better way to discuss them or bring those topics to the table than through a creative writing process.
Yeah.
So that is very, very good and very powerful.
Poetry, in my experiences with these kids and adults that I know, it has literally saved their life. I mean,
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's very therapeutic, and it's almost a way of sharing these thoughts and getting it out and processing them, almost in a way that the universe or the creator or whatever it is that you look towards as your therapy or as your therapist. So I believe that wholeheartedly.
This next one is I don't know, it's a Japanese style of poetry, but it's more prose, and it's called The Color of Blues. We drive windows down in this summer steam to the end of a 2-mile dirt road sitting on the edge of a cotton field. In the rusty roof juke joint, Colt 45s are iced in metal tubs, catfish rolled in cornmeal cooked in lard. Dirty Dancing bows, worn cypress floors, cuts the blue haze in this one-time sharecropper shack. The night rings of bottlenecks sliding over wailing strings. The monochords of a diddly bow moans of Eddie One-String Jones. It is the Blackwater blues that echo out to bloody hands of old field hollers that answer in this Delta night. It is too many that came before me, painted the color of blues.
Oh, wow. That had a lot of imagery in it. Coming from the South, I reside in Alabama. That had a lot of language that I understood very clearly, and actually, sure. It created a lot of imagery for me. Now, what inspired that? What was?
Clarksdale, Mississippi. Okay. They're down around that area and below there. We would go to the Blues Fest there, and they had stages throughout town, but they also played blues sitting on their front porch, and it was kind of cool. And then we went out in the countryside, and that's where I saw some of these and places, and I went, what's that? And they go, that's a juke joint. And I went, what the hell is that? Well, it's like a bar. I went, yeah, oh, okay.
Awesome. Well, that's really awesome. I enjoyed the imagery in that one.
I've got a lot of those kid poems, but I'm going to read this one. And since it's going to be close to Valentine's Day, been married 43 years, and my wife says, you've never written a poem about me. And I went, oh. All the poems are about you. And she goes, I'm not buying that. And so I took a line from many, many poems, one line from each poem to prove my point. And this poem is called Saving Valentines in a Shoebox. You always wanted a love poem, a V-Day poem to hold, always written but never sent, as first drafts are not for love. But on all days you are my virgin princess, the gypsy slowly caressing soft curves the ready-to-paint sunrise I see when I leave for work. Your strong legs wrapping around my own, searching for my belt. You are my love, the cool side of the pillow when I dream. You have cast your shadow on my heart, and it has become permanent, like a Brodigan poem that makes me smile. You are my blue mist morning, wrapped in white indigo, the stillness on the morning lake. You are the dust dancing like confetti at the World Series. You are the perfect strokes of Monet, the color of a Zen dawn, the first angel sent to that concrete rodeo so many poems ago. A turned up lover's card under the gypsy moon. You are my love poem.
Wow, that's beautiful. I bet you earned some brownie points with that one.
I got some brownie points, Joe.
Absolutely. That's really beautiful. I loved all the different ways that you expressed how wonderful she was to such a heightened level. I know that you must truly love someone if you refer to them or compare them to the cool side of a pillow, because there's nothing better.
Right.
There's nothing better than that.
Right.
And I love the line of "You cast the shadow on my heart, and now it's there for forever." That was really wonderful. It has been an absolute treat having you on. There is something I want to say before we go. I want to personally thank you for your work in the education system, and specifically working with those children facing the things that you mentioned earlier, from sexual abuse, domestic abuse, and just finding ways to accept themselves at such a young age in a society that tells them that they are unacceptable. So thank you for your work in that area, that from a personal perspective and possibly on behalf of many people watching. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us today. I do want to encourage people to check your book out. They Said I Wasn't College Material by Scot Young, as well as the other titles that you mentioned. I do know those are on Amazon.com, as well as where you buy most books, BarnesandNobles.com, etc. So correct. Awesome. We appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much, Mr. Young.
I thank you, Joe.
Absolutely. And if you're down for it, I am definitely interested in having you join us so we can talk about some of those other books as well.
I would love to, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Until next time, crazy babies. We'll see you then. All right, crazy babies. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Jam Sessions with today's author. Be sure to check out their book and grab a copy. Also, check these great books out. My children's book called Beautiful Boy by Joe Mykut, available on Amazon.com. A great collection of poetry by Alicia Hodge, titled I May Be a Romantic, But I'm Not Hopeless, available on Amazon.com. Another great collection of poetry by Marie Dawn Moldovan, titled 20 Years of Winter, also available on Amazon.com. And last but not least, this is the first book, Vocus Honomarum, in a series, a 7-book series titled Philly Der Bedlam. Again, this is the first book that is out and available, Vocus Honomarum. It's also available on Amazon.com. Be sure to stay tuned. Right after this, I'm going to leave you with a teaser video about that series. The author not only directed and produced this video, but he also created the music that you'll hear in the background. Enjoy.